It's 526, Leland Live, Talking M5. Gutter Caps running that deal, man, through Christmas, 45% off. This will get it done for you. This is the patented all aluminum one piece system that is everybody else is imitating. They patented it for a reason. All aluminum makes sense. That defies the elements. One piece makes sense. You got fewer seams. They actually produce the panels right there on your property, two length, two cut, two fit, after they've already secured your gutters, cleaned them out from this fall and all the crap that landed in there, and they get them all straight, making sure everything's flowing and going, then put their system on it. You cannot beat the system. And for a limited time right now, at least through the holidays, 45% off at Gutter Cap. This is what you want on your home. Gutter Cap Birmingham, guttercapbirmingham.com. Y'all reach out to him. Henry's up next in Winston County. What's up, Henry?
Hey. When you were talking about the Mercedes in Germany,
Yeah.
I just saw a thing on the news that.
Hey, Henry, is your phone mouthpiece covered up? I can't quite hear you, man. You're kind of muffled.
How's this?
Way better.
I should talk into the phone instead of trying to
That's
remember
always
something.
better. It really is.
You put your finger on your chin and you look up into the sky and your mouth moves away from the phone.
Yep.
What an idiot. Hey, the Germans have outlawed the gas engine.
Pretty much.
No, they actually made a law saying the gas engine is outlawed. If you have a gas engine, you're an outlaw. And I don't know how that works. I'll tell you what. What do you do without a gas engine? Or that includes diesel, as far as I know, so no trucks will go through there either. But you asked the question, is there a common denominator with all these attacks, these murders? Yeah. People like the commie in New York got
Mamdani.
Mamdani, yeah. He called for a global intifada. I wonder if that might be strengthening the willpower of ISIS and other people to really get on people and to draw them to their side and go out and kill people. And the one that up in Brown University, she's being treated right now, from what I heard, like Kirk was treated. People celebrating his death, they're celebrating her death. And they get on to Trump. I'll tell you what, forgiveness is a special thing to the individual. If the person doesn't apologize that did you wrong and come out and ask for your forgiveness, that's when you forgive that person. That's the only time you speak out loud. The rest of the time, if we don't know if Trump forgave, Reiner, forgave him with God. All you have to do is think.
Well, here's the other difference. I've been hearing all this about how Charlie Kirk was treated and then how Rob Reiner was treated. They were, one conservative, one liberal. Rob Reiner was not killed and assassinated publicly for his political beliefs. He was killed by his own child, if you believe the authorities, because that kid was messed up. This wasn't a political. Thanks, Henry. I got to run, buddy. Bottom of the hour. This wasn't a political assassination. A completely different situation in our country. All right, enough of that. Over to the bottom of the hour and then back for more. Y'all hang in there. Your calls, too, if you want to get in, 545-9950, Leland Live. All right, it's 5:35. Here we go, Leland Live. Time to chat with Thomas. We do that just about every day here when Thomas is available. Thomas, what's going on tonight over at Stockton Mortgage?
No, man, we are finishing up today. Had a great day today, and man, wanted to tell you about a local family that we helped got closed up, and they called us about those nasty credit card debt, man, with rates dropping, but they still had those high interest credit cards. And they kept hearing us on your show, and they gave us a call about a month ago now, and we just got them closed up where we paid off about $75,000 in credit card debt and a couple of other small loans that they had the higher interest rates on, and we saved them about $1,500 a month.
Wow.
Man, that is incredible on what we pay them, and that is monthly savings. $1,500 per month on what they were paying on all of that. So plus, now they don't have all those high interest rate credit cards anymore. And when we say we pay those things off, we're not closing those credit cards. They still have those available in case of emergency. But what it does is it clears up that $1,500 for you to be able to apply it to your mortgage payment or put it away for a nest egg or whatever you need to do. But at least, you have some breathing room rather than having to pay all that money out every single month. And plus, again, as we talked about before, talk to your CPA because you potentially could write off some of that interest because it's tied to your mortgage. So give us a call. Let us sit down with you and see if we can put a plan together where you can save hundreds or maybe even a couple $1,000s per month. 205-859-8859 or savewithstockton.com.
And as we always point out, Thomas, I know we got a few days left and it might be enough time, but if you could get this thing wrapped up and closed before Christmas, you could actually save that next payment. You wouldn't have another payment to win, like February or something like that.
February right now. Yes, sir. That's right.
That'll help you with Christmas alone, just using your mortgage payments for something else. Yeah.
That's right.
Thomas,
That's right.
SaveWithStockton.com. Appreciate talking to you tonight, man.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
SaveWithStockton.com. All right, going back and reviewing, I'm going to switch back to the Brown mystery right now as they're still looking for the suspect. We just had a news conference, about an hour and a half ago. One of the officials there in the news conference, they were a little bit all over the place as they have been. One of the issues they're having is they've got a police chief, I think, that's from Colombia, hired for image, right? And he keeps messing up his English and he's saying the wrong stuff. And they're having to stop the news conference. This started right after the night of the shooting where this guy is not, I don't know if he's competent as a chief and just doesn't, he struggles with English, which is a problem itself. And it's just manifest because he's now in the national spotlight, or if he's just an idiot. But you've got a situation there that's just embarrassing for them, and it happened a couple of times today, too. This guy's in charge. Speaking of police chiefs, I think it was last week we heard the police chief in Washington, D.C. was stepping aside, and I thought, well, okay, all right. Well, it turns out a report came out, I think it was yesterday. D.C. has indeed been fudging their crime statistics. They do it in a bunch of ways. They're trying to make things look better. So there's two ways they do it. They do a non-prosecution, or they lower the prosecution level or the seriousness of crimes. They sort of bust them down to more minor crimes so that the violent felonies don't show up as high in the statistics. And then they also reattribute race. There are hilarious examples of online mugshots of people they've arrested that they'll categorize as white that aren't anywhere near white. I mean, they're not even near off-white. They're not even near, but they're doing it, it changes the racial reporting. So they've gotten caught. We don't know the extent of it or how much it really was. But part of that was this idea that crime was down in our cities all over the country. I'll 100% guarantee you, if they were doing this in D.C., they were doing it in other cities around the country for sheer politics. And then we don't have a grip on what the crime stats are in this country, and that's important. Some of them were not even reporting at all to the FBI. It's a voluntary thing for the most part, and cities can opt out. Usually there's supposed to be federal funding tied to that. If you opt out, you don't get the federal funding. but some have just chosen to opt out. That helps the numbers overall nationwide. As some of our worst areas decide they're not going to play ball. But then the ones that are opting in are lying about how bad it is in their own cities. One, probably for the image of the mayor. Two, for their real estate values and other statistical data that affect that. What a scandal. And so nobody will cover it. She's out. They'll just hire some other idiot and move on. Kyle is in Hoover. What's up, Kyle?
Hey, what's up, Leland? Yeah, what I was going to ask you, it kind of ties into what you were just talking about with the police chief in D.C. stepping aside because now they're finding out that, hey, like you said, we kind of had a feeling, but now we have the physical data that, yeah, you're fudging the numbers. Do you get the feeling from Brown? Now, I don't know, not so much. People will say, Providence and the police department. I'm thinking more of the university. I feel like they might know who this person is, the shooter, and I think they are doing everything they can to kind of either get rid of some stuff before it comes out who this person is, or that they don't want it to come out because it's not either one going to fit their narrative, or two, it's going to be like, yeah, this is something that we've kind of noticed and it's a pattern.
Well, let me give them first we'll give them a benefit of the doubt. I could see reasons why you don't. They've already been burned. They've already put a name out. They already claimed an arrest, and they were wrong, and they don't want to do that again. Secondly, they've got a prosecution to make down the road where they've got to have, a good defense attorney is going to check any of the bumbling that they do or anything that's put and made public that would hurt their case. In other words, if the details of the shooter are kept private for a minute until they collared the suspect, get him into a room and start asking him questions, and he lies about this or that, that helps the prosecutor make a case because there's stuff that only the killer would know or not know. But if all that's public too soon, anybody would have had that knowledge, and it makes the interrogation a little more difficult. So I can see some examples of why, even if, say, this Mustafa guy that the internet seems to be pointing at, if this is the guy, and by the way, the cop vehemently told the reporters they were playing a dangerous game, but he did not deny this was their suspect. He just said, we're still trying to find him. I think what he's doing there is, if this is the guy, they may have a dragnet around him. They may not want to set him off and make him change his routine if they're still trying to catch him. If he thinks he's getting away with it, they don't want to force him out in the open that way. Yet that is a tool they might want to use later. So I'm trying to think like they're thinking and give them a little credit. But to your assertion, Kyle, here's what I think is going on. There's a PR element to this. This is a liberal-run city on a toxic campus that is explosive. The politics of this explode all over them in every agenda they have. They don't like that being in public, so they shift to the guns and they get their story straight. And that's exactly what they were starting to do in the news conference. They're buying time to get a cover story, just like in this the tranny shooter at the school in Nashville, where they just hid the manifesto as long as they could until somebody leaked out a copy of it. They don't want you to know these agendas because it doesn't fit their agenda. And like I said earlier, if they can't argue the agenda of a shooter, they go to the guns. If they can't argue the agenda because it's against their political opponents, they ignore the guns. So tonight they focused on the guns. Something's up with these people. I don't know. I just hope they get this person off the streets. It's enough that the community around that college, as left-wing as they are, I don't want these kids feeling vulnerable like this. And for the family back here in Mountain Brook and everybody that knew Ella Cook, they need to know that person's been arrested and will face serious justice. There is a value in that when you're already in shock and suffering from a loss like this.
I totally agree. And for me, I just think it's very interesting, like you said earlier in the show, we have the two guardsmen and the National Guardsmen in D.C. shot, and it was a person that screamed Allah Akbar. And then you have the situation down in Australia where they know for a fact that's what it was because they were shooting up a beach full of Jewish people on the first night of Hanukkah.
Holding ISIS
and then you
flags.
Have all these right. And it's like all this stuff is going on, and I laugh because now people try to come out and say, well, you can't blame all Muslims. We're not blaming all Muslims, but you can't ignore the elephant in the room.
Right.
Something is going on, and it's like what we're saying is there are certain tendencies, and if this one at Brown, I'm not saying that's what happened, but if it turns out that that's the case, I think you will see a lot of people go, okay, I'm an understanding person, but we got to figure this out because this is not possible. And then you have what's the one out in California? And there was one in New York where they're going to do the New Year's Eve.
There's a terror plot in New York, New Orleans, Los Angeles, Poland, Germany. These are all just today that have been busted up. It's all coming from, look, and I get the whole idea you want to target a whole people, but let me just flip that on its head for a second. Guilt by association works two ways with liberals too. Every white person in this country is being accused of being a slave owner in the last 20 years. A very small fraction of white ancestors in this country ever participated at all in that industry. An industry this country fought a war to end 60-something years after its founding. Yet, to this day, they want to blame an entire race of people for an institution that hasn't existed since that time. So guilt by association is fine under those circumstances. Even 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 generations later of a small minority of people from the race they're accusing get blamed for it. Not the people that rounded up the slaves in Africa that were largely Muslim. The largest group of people, this is the big twist on all that, the biggest slaveholding ethnicity on the planet Earth is Islam. The word slave, can I get off on something for a minute? Comes from the word it comes from Slavic. Islam captured so many white Slavic people in the Mediterranean in their day, in their heyday of slavery, that's where the damn word literally comes from. It had nothing to do with sub-Saharan Africa. So guilt by association is something that is used conveniently when it works and ignorantly when it doesn't. And nobody's trying to blame every Muslim in the country. We're not. But I'll say this, and I got to go. How about this, Kyle? Where are the moderate Muslims and the peaceful Muslims from the religion of peace giving voice? They should be having an internal war with themselves right now over terrorism because they've got a problem and the world knows it. 65,000 terror attacks since 9/11 in the world, and 98% of them were committed on behalf, in the name of Islam. You would think the peaceful ones and the moderate ones would be really challenging what's going on in the radicalization in the mosque and all over the world and these terror groups. I don't hear anything. Even the ones that peaceably go about their lives and quietly doing their day and wouldn't hurt a fly are dead, stone cold silent right now to all this stuff affecting the country, except for to come out and claim something they've now invented, a word called Islamophobia. A phobia is an irrational fear. And I think people that understand world history can look at what's going on, and that's not a phobia. That is common sense.
You're right.
It's deductive reasoning. It's pattern recognition. It's survival to notice danger. Hey, Kyle, good call, man. And I took over your whole phone call, but I got to go anyway. Lonnie's Furniture Company, just north of here, right up the interstate, off exit 280. They've got lazy boys ready for you, all kinds of lazy boys. They've got deals for inside the home, outside the home, and everything in between. This is how they've operated for 91 years. And if you're getting ready for Christmas and still looking for that unique thing, maybe a pair of lazy boys might work for the family. Maybe husbands and wives, y'all are torn about what to get each other. Each of you get each other a lazy boy at these incredible deals. Then you both got your own seat. Y'all can movie watch all winter long. Lazy boys on sale right now at Lonnie's Furniture Company, along with the other famous brands you're going to recognize, Bassett, the Stressless line, all of these furniture lines that you can configure, and some you've never heard of, but are the best manufacturers in the industry. With some of the best people in the furniture business, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com, LAUNIUS, LaniusFurnitureCompany.com. All right, until 5:55, we got a lot to do to get out of here. I got 5 minutes. Douglas Cooling and Heating. How's your heater hanging? How did it do when we got down into the teens the other night? If your house was still chilly, maybe it just needs to tune up. It doesn't mean it necessarily needs to be replaced. They can handle all that for you, of course, at Douglas Cooling and Heating. This has been my heating and air company. I think we're going on, I got to go back and check, but I think we're going on 17 years together. That's a long time. That is a long time of all kinds of service, every service that they offer day in and day out. They're helping people with that, heating and air elements, and of course, plumbing, big part of what they do as well. Y'all, it's Douglas Cooling and Heating. This is who I trust to send to your house to handle all of those home services. License number 2017181. You can get them to your house for, again, a tune-up, cleanup, inspection, replacement, all of it. They're ready to go with financing, the Bryant Systems extended warranties. Douglas Cooling and Heating. Call Douglas.com, CALL. Call Douglas.com. All right. I'm looking here at, let's switch to Venezuela for a minute because I think we've speculated as much as we can based on all the craziness on the internet tonight. I guess the authorities will have some info when they have some info on the other stuff. Apparently, Trump just put a statement out saying that we are completely blockading Venezuela, and we're going to stop everything that moves out of that country, especially their oil ships. Instead of just seizing the tankers, it's the big, according to some, it's the biggest naval buildup in the history of our hemisphere as far as a deployment from the United States is concerned. Here's a little bit of that statement that Trump just put out. Venezuela is completely surrounded by the largest armada ever assembled in the history of South America. There we go. President saying it himself. It will only get bigger, and to shock them, it will be nothing like they've ever seen before. Until such time as they return to the United States of America, all of the oil, land, and other assets that they previously stole from us. And they did. They nationalized all the American assets that were down there when they went commie. The illegitimate Maduro regime is using oil from these stolen oil fields to finance themselves, drug terrorism, human trafficking, murder, and kidnapping for the theft of our assets and many other reasons, including terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking. The Venezuelan regime has been designated as a foreign terrorist organization, and therefore today I'm ordering a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers going into and out of Venezuela. The illegal aliens and criminals that Maduro regime has sent to the United States during the week and inept Biden administration are being returned to Venezuela at a rapid pace. America will not allow criminals, terrorists. Boy, he used a lot of commas in his statements. There are a lot of commas in it. Criminals, terrorists, or other to rob, threaten. Should I call out all the commas? Man's using some commas. All right, y'all get it. Y'all get the gist of it. One more time for Michelson Laser Vision. If, man, maybe you want to give the gift of sight for somebody you love this year. I'm telling you, it is as life-changing as anything I think I can think of. To give somebody you love that's in glasses or contacts. I was kidding about it earlier. I was walking through the snow on Sunday morning. It snowed up there in New York where we were, walking to see my son, going to his apartment. And I remember walking in different cities over the years when I had glasses in the snow, sticking to my glasses. Man, you don't have to put up with that. Get rid of glasses. That's an old technology. LASIK is amazing. And they've got the latest version of it at Michelson Laser Vision. Of course, you can count on them to be on the cutting edge of everything. Dr. Mark Michelson and Dr. Jennifer Michelson. Dr. Mark changed my life a little over 6 years ago, and I love being able to see the way I see. Decide if it's for you or somebody you love. Let them get the initial consult, and then gift them this gift this Christmas. You'll be amazed at what it does in their life. MichelsonLaserVision.com. Downtown UAB Highlands, MichelsonLaserVision.com. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Goodbye, AJ.